Federal agents are on the scene right now at a massive financial institution HQ, executing a high-stakes raid against a target once thought untouchable. This just developed. The director of operations at this central hub, a prominent figure responsible for the logistics of vast currency shipments, has been arrested and charged as the architect of a sprawling federal conspiracy. Federal bureaus, including the FBI and investigators from the Treasury Department's OIG, moving with total tactical precision, have dismantled an organized network, taking 6 individuals into custody in simultaneous takedowns across the metro area. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar scheme, a dynamic and calculated plot to divert branded currency intended for federal reserves. While previous busts in this niche focused on high-level fraud, this was a brute force violation of logistics and trust. A shocking contrast between a critical institution's public duty and a criminal architecture engineered from within by its own trusted director. Sources close to the investigation say this raid is the culmination of Operation Meridian, a 3-month intensive multi-agency task force that meticulously tracked burner phones, false identities, and shell companies. Today we expose the exact mechanics of this massive heist. You are going to see how federal logic unraveled a perfect crime. The central figure behind this high-level conspiracy was a man named Garrett Allen Foss, a trusted insider who operated as a regional hub director for a prominent multi-billion-dollar currency carrier system. Outwardly, Foss maintained the image of a meticulous professional, a dedicated logistic coordinator tasked with scheduling high-value transfers, plotting secure transport routes, and managing complex carrier protocols. To his colleagues and superiors, he was an asset, a man possessing flawless knowledge of the operational infrastructure required to move currency across state lines safely. But behind this corporate facade lay a calculated criminal mind. For 4 years, Foss carefully studied the network's deep structural vulnerabilities, mapping every security checkpoint, timing variable, and communication loop. He spent months quietly archiving scheduling data, carrier route layouts, and crew assignment patterns. In June, he walked away from his position voluntarily, carrying an unmonitored mental blueprint of the entire logistics chain. He was not an amateur crook seeking a desperate payday. He was a highly trained architect using trade secrets to plan a definitive multi-million-dollar strike from the shadows. The scheme was not based on a digital hack, a lucky break, or a compromised dispatcher. It relied entirely on weaponized insider intelligence. Foss spent weeks using forged identity documents, high-quality counterfeit driver's licenses, and prepaid financial instruments bought with untraceable cash to systematically construct a completely phantom logistics operation. Under the fraudulent identity of David Arlen Murchison, the network established complex layers of premeditation, including renting commercial cargo vans to execute rigorous physical scouting of potential escape routes. These reconnaissance operations mapped out specialized rural road networks, precisely measuring distances down to the 10th of a mile to identify blind spots outside the range of municipal law enforcement cameras. To further obscure the digital trail, Foss engineered a decentralized mobile communications network using untraceable burner devices purchased with cash at various local retail outlets, strictly registering them under shell entities. The core mechanism of the execution relied on absolute coordination, a multi-vehicle convoy, featuring cloned commercial plates to blend seamlessly with routine traffic, would force the transport vehicle into a pre-selected vulnerability point on a prominent interstate. Once stopped, the field crew utilized calculated intimidation, presenting a high-grade chemical accelerant and threat of fire through the reinforced glass, to eliminate the need for violence, ensuring a rapid, bloodless takedown completed in exactly 9 minutes and 14 seconds. Following the breach, the network immediately enacted a rigorous tactical exit route, utilizing an unmapped county road corridor to bypass traditional routing checkpoints completely. The stolen Federal Reserve currency, packed in corporate duffel bags, was immediately moved to a secure pre-arranged regional farm property held under a fraudulent shell company name, Blue Bourbon Meridian Land Holdings, LLC. From there, the assets were distributed through a meticulous laundering operation designed to bleed the cash into localized luxury markets and high-end gaming hubs, converting the uncirculated federal bills into dynamic, liquid assets before the multi-agency task force could even establish a definitive suspect list. Building the federal case against this network was a masterclass in forensic persistence. According to court documents, the multi-agency task force, operating under the temporary designation Operation Meridian, began with almost nothing: 8 nylon zip ties, a partial glove print on a door frame, and boot impressions left in the road gravel. But investigators immediately turned to standard investigative geometry, working outward from the crime scene in concentric rings to canvass every business, residence, and farm along the escape corridor. The first major break came on the fourth day of the canvass, when a special agent recovered a memory card from a cheap private license plate reader at a rural farm supply store in Harrisonville. The low-resolution footage captured 31 vehicles, but cross-referencing those numbers against national databases revealed a single medium-gray U-Haul cargo van traveling deliberately at 47 miles per hour. That plate number returned 0 rental records, signaling a cloned or forged tag. Analysts spent 9 grueling days pulling records for every similar cargo van across 3 states, narrowing 340 candidate plates down to 6 that had traveled the metro area. One led back to a rental in Overland Park, completed 6 weeks before the heist using a fraudulent license. Interior surveillance footage showed a suspect in a low-brimmed baseball cap and sunglasses, while the van's odometer revealed a 340-mile radius, the exact distance required to scout the rural escape routes. While analysts traced the vehicle trail, the FBI laboratory in Quantico established a critical biometric anchor. Technicians processing the discarded zip ties isolated a 12-point partial right index fingerprint on the interior surface of a locking tab. Simultaneously, a confidential human source known as Source Kappa contacted handlers with a high-value tip. An armed robbery crew connected to a local figure named Corbin had suddenly come into a massive supply of uncirculated federal cash. Federal surveillance teams immediately swarmed the targeted Raytown area, deploying mobile and static units across key transit corridors. Agents hitting the pavement spotted a silver Dodge Ram executing a deliberate counter-surveillance loop, a textbook heat check. Following at a distance, investigators watched the driver enter a self-storage facility on Blue Ridge Boulevard. Federal court orders unsealed days later exposed the customer files for Unit 74, registered under an alias belonging to Damon Yarrow, a convicted felon with a prior federal firearms record. When Yarrow's known prints were submitted against the 12-point partial from the zip tie, the system flagged a definitive match, giving the task force the probable cause needed to escalate to wiretaps and pen registers. The wiretap operations quickly intercepted a highly disciplined network of 5 burner phones. Electronic tracking revealed that on the morning of the heist, all 5 devices went completely dark, before powering back on simultaneously near an 18-acre agricultural property held by a shell company. Corporate filings linked that land directly to Garrett Allen Foss, mapping his transition from an institutional logistics insider to the criminal architect of the entire conspiracy. With financial analysts tracking additional suspects through high-value casino cash transactions and facial recognition databases, a federal magistrate signed the arrest warrants. The tactical takedown was set for a cold winter morning. According to investigative reports, dynamic entries were executed simultaneously at 6 separate locations at exactly 6:10 a.m. Tactical teams breaching the first residence found Foss standing in his bathrobe holding a cup of coffee. He offered no resistance as agents presented the federal indictment. Miles away, team elements apprehended a second suspect in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, while specialized units arrested the remaining field operators at properties across Grandview and Warrensburg. Within 37 minutes, all 6 primary targets were in federal custody. Armed with federal search warrants, agents then breached the secure storage unit in Independence. Behind a wall of plastic bins and a disassembled exercise machine, investigators discovered 11 heavy duffel bags, zippered open under high-intensity lights. The bags revealed stacks of banded currency, still secured in the original Federal Reserve bindings. Forensic accountants spent hours processing the scene, counting millions in cash on site while tactical teams secured the perimeter, concluding one of the most clinical takedowns in modern federal law enforcement history. The unsealing of the federal indictment at the Itman Federal Building exposed the staggering scale of this inside operation. All 6 defendants faced severe federal counts, including conspiracy to commit robbery affecting interstate commerce under the Hobbs Act, alongside charges of brandishing firearms during a crime of violence, obstruction, and aggravated identity theft. But while the simultaneous raids successfully recovered $22,417,000 still locked in original Federal Reserve bands, a massive secondary investigation was triggered immediately. Nearly $10.5 million of the stolen currency remained completely unaccounted for. The fallout sent shockwaves through the financial sector, revealing a glaring vulnerability in national transit security. An institutional coordinator could walk away with years of highly sensitive routing protocols completely unchecked. The legal reckoning moved with clinical speed through the Western District of Missouri. Faced with an accumulation of bulletproof forensic evidence, the architecture of the conspiracy quickly collapsed. Garrett Allen Foss entered a straight guilty plea to all charges, with federal prosecutors aggressively seeking a maximum sentence in the range of 22 to 27 years in prison. Damon Yarrow also pleaded guilty, signing an active cooperation agreement to assist federal forensic accountants currently tracing the missing millions through hidden caches. The remaining co-conspirators, including Raymond Pruitt, entered not guilty pleas, setting the stage for a high-stakes federal trial focused on the limits of facial recognition tech. Ultimately, this case exposed a profound truth about modern crime. The most dangerous threat to any multi-billion-dollar system isn't an outside force, but an insider with a plan. Hit subscribe to stay connected to FBI Files USA as we continue to track down the world's most sophisticated criminal networks.